Alrighty, green group, you should have your dividing decimals video guide in front of you. And the first thing on your guide should be a warm up. And the directions say write as multiplication. And it gives the example of this 10 divided by 2. You might think of that as multiplication by thinking 2 times what would equal 10. And so I want you to take the problem 24 divided by 6 and on your paper write that if you were thinking multiplication, what would it look like? So what you do now is you push pause on the Mrs. Kelzer video and then you write down what you think on your paper and then you push play and you see if you're right. Okay. So when you did 24 divided by 6, if you were thinking of it as multiplication, we should have thought 6 times what equals 24. And then if we were going to fill in that box or figure out our missing variable, we would decide that the box is equal to 4. Okay, why don't you go ahead and do 30 divided by 6, push pause, you write it down, check back with me. 30 divided by 6, I could think of that as 6 times what equals 30. And in that case, I would determine that my question mark is equal to 5. And then fifth graders, go ahead and do the last one. Again, push pause. I'm trusting that you're pushing pause and doing a little work on your paper and then checking back with me because here you're taking charge of your own learning, you guys. All right, so for that last one, 100 divided by 25. If we were thinking multiplication, we would think 25 times what number, and I'll use A as my variable this time, equals 100. And then can you figure out what A would equal? A would equal 4. Nice job on the warm-up. Okay, so today's lesson is going to be on dividing with decimals. And our first step is to think about how do we estimate when dividing. And I've been doing this a long time, you guys, and it seems like most kids have better luck actually thinking about their division problem as multiplication like we were just doing in our warm-up. So if we have the problem 125 divided by 6, hey, can you think for a second, 125, is that the dividend or the divisor? Did you say dividend? If you did, you're right. And 6 would be the divisor. Anyway, 125 divided by 6. So we want to do an estimate. I would encourage you to think multiplication, to think 6 times what equals 125. And if nothing is exactly 125, then we're going to think, well, 6 times what is about. And this symbol that Mrs. Kelzer just made, this one right here, which looks like I took my equal sign and I gave it a little whip, flip-de-doo-dah here. It means about, is about. So 6 times what is about 125. And so if you think 6 times 10, well, that's 60. Okay, so 6 times 20, 120, we're getting close. 6 times 30, 180. Ooh, that's a little much. This seems like probably our best. And so we'd say, well, 6 times 20 is about 125, which means when I do 125 divided by 6, I should be close to 20. Or in other words, I should be in the tens place, and you could circle that on your paper that you should be in the tens place. So your paper should now be completed, the entire front side, and you're going to flip it over to the back side. Alrighty, here's our next one. We're on the back side, problem number 2, 2,359 divided by 11. 2,359 is our, did you say dividend? And 11 is the Did you say divisor? All right. So I'm going, well, man, I don't know. I'm not sure where to start if I'm trying to estimate. Remember, we talked about thinking multiplication. So we're going to think 11 times what is about or gets me close to, there's that funky little symbol again, 2,359. Well, 11 times 1 is only 11. So let's think about 11 times 10. That would be 11 with a 0, 110. Ooh, that's pretty far away. So maybe I'll think 11 times 100. So 11 times 1 is 11 with two zeros. Okay, getting in the neighborhood, but still seems like maybe I could do a little better. So I think 11 times 200. 11 times 2 is 22 with two zeros. Ooh, that is really close. And so I'm going to go with 11 times 200. And so I would circle that my answer should be in the hundreds place. Alrighty, now we've got problems 3 and 4 to go. Alrighty, so now we are taking a look at problem number 3. In problem number 3, we are going to be dividing with decimals, and we're going to use these estimation skills that we were just working on. You're going to be doing 2 dividing decimal problems here with your guide, and then you will be doing some more dividing decimals with Mrs. Kelzer up on the carpet in just a bit. So let's give these your best work, your best swirl, your best shot. So we're going to begin by making an estimate. We have 48 and 5/10 divided by 5. So we want to use that strategy that we were just talking about. Think multiplication. I want you to think 5 times what would get you close to 48 and 5/10. Why don't you push pause on the video and you write down on your paper, what are you thinking? 5 times what will get you close to 48 and 5/10? All right, what did you write? Because here's what I should see. 5 times what will get me close, there's that funky symbol again, to 48 and 5/10. So you got to think about your fives. 5 times what? Most likely you said 5 times 9, which would be 45. Some of you might have said 10. 5 times 10 would be 50, and that's pretty close too. So we should be somewhere between 9 and 10. So we're going to be in the ones place. Now we've only done the estimating, boys and girls. Now we want to actually divide this decimal. And so we're not going to get all worried about the decimal point. We're just going to go ahead and do the division, and then we'll put the decimal point in at the end. So why don't you come on down with me, do this problem with me. In other words, fill out your paper as Mrs. Kelzer is doing it on her paper. How many fives can we make out of 4? None. So then we're going to look at 48. How many fives can we make out of 48? And you can push pause and try it on your own and see if you're right. 5 times 9 is 45. Subtract and we get 3. That's smaller than my divisor, so I'm okay. Bring down the 5. 5 times what will give me 35? And again, you can push pause and try it on your own. 5 times 7 is exactly 35. Get 0. So I'm going to look back up at my estimate. I'm supposed to be between 9 and 10 or in the ones place. And so that tells me that my decimal point should go where? Right here. 9 and 7/10. You'll notice if you keep everything nice and lined up, then all you have to do with your decimal point is scoot it straight up. But that's assuming you kept everything lined up when you were dividing. All right, we've got one more to try, number 4. Alrighty, here's problem number 4. So I want you to start by making your estimate. So what are you going to write down? Think multiplication, push pause, write down what you're thinking, and circle your estimate. All right, 4 times what gets me close to 6 and 4 tenths? And you probably said 1, or maybe you said 4 times 2. So we know we should be somewhere between 1 and 2. We're going to be here in the ones place. So now we're going to come down and we're going to do the problem, 6 and 4 tenths divided by 4. And again, you can kind of push pause as we're doing it, and then you can do it on your paper and then check and see if what you have matches what Mrs. Kelzer has. So how many 4s can you make out of 6? 1. 4 times 1 is 4. Subtract and you get 2. What would you do next? Push pause. You do it and check. Bring down the 4. How many 4s can you make out of 24? Again, you could push pause and then check back with me. 4 times 6 is exactly 24. Subtract and we get 0. Go back up to our estimate up here. We said we should be in the ones place or between 1 and 2. So where would you put your decimal point? You can even push pause if you need to. 1 and 6 tenths. Or if you look, if you kept everything nice and lined up, then you just need to slide that decimal point right up. 1 and 6 tenths is your quotient. All right, guys, here's the deal. You are going to be joining me on the carpet shortly. I'm going to ask you what you know about dividing with decimals, and hopefully from this video you'll have some strategies and ideas, and we can continue learning together up at the carpet. Your sheet should be completed and you should bring it with you to the carpet. Nice work!